What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. Welcome to our daily show. We discuss everything going on here in our country that you need to know about on a daily basis, including money, investing, the stock market, the fourth stimulus package update, and a stimulus check update. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, make sure to click the subscribe button down below. It's completely free to do so. And remember that new videos come out here every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. There's a lot going on here. Literally here by the day, we have multiple states discussing, passing, and announcing state stimulus checks and gas tax relief, anti-inflation checks, and stimulus provisions. And on the federal level for the whole United States here, lawmakers are discussing stimulus checks and stimulus provisions as well because of the price of gas and inflation as well. We'll be going over that in this video. What is on the table right now? What is currently being passed? What is currently being discussed? There's a lot going on here right now, and inflation is just going crazy right now. In February, it was 7.9%. That was a 40-year high in the United States. And March is probably going to be worse. The price of gas really didn't start going up until the end of February and into March. So when the March numbers come out, we're expecting inflation to be even higher than the 7.9% that it was in February. So this is why we're seeing all these new bills and new states from the federal or new states that are proposing and actually issuing stimulus checks, bills, stimulus items, and now prepaid gas debit cards for $400, $800. That's going to be potentially coming to millions of people here in the United States. We'll be going over that as well in this video. So don't forget to hit the like button for us down below. My wife and I, we do hours of research for you guys every single day. So let's jump right into a lot of the details. So yeah, there is definitely a very real possibility of a fourth stimulus check now because, as you can see here, because of higher prices of gas, inflation, of groceries, of pretty much everything driving inflation high right now, being reported pretty much everywhere. You can see here, even CBS News says stimulus checks for gas. Here's what could be coming your way. And we're seeing all sorts of states here as well, basically contemplating actually coming out with actual bills, and some states actually passing bills for stimulus relief, gas tax relief in certain states, and stimulus checks relief. This is because of the price of gas here. You can see price of gas has been fluctuating. The high was about a week or so ago at 433. It's come down a little bit, but the problem with this is the price of oil has now spiked back up again. So if history tells us anything, the price of gas is probably going to be going back up here in the next few days. So you can see right now the national average here of gas across the country is 423. And of course, this is the average. You could be in California or Hawaii where it's more, or one of the states where it's more. You could be in one of the states where it's less. But the problem here with this is, and diesel's at 504. A month ago, diesel was at, as you can see here, 395. Now it's at 504. Remember, diesel has to do with shipping things, semis, delivering everything like groceries, eggs, shoes, anything you buy in the grocery stores or on the shelves mostly gets delivered by semis using diesel. That has to do with inflation as well. The problem here right now is that the price of oil is going up very quickly. Disregard this red. This is really just, it's gone down 0.5% here in the last 11 minutes. But the price of Brent crude here is now back up to $121 a barrel. That's really, really high. It's gone really back up a lot. WTI crude up to 114.5, almost 115. So if we round here, 115 a barrel, 121 a barrel, it's gone back up here. If you remember just about a week or so ago, both of these were around 100 a barrel, even below 100 a barrel. Now 115, 120, 121 a barrel for round numbers. So we are seeing oil go back up. What happens when oil goes up? The price of gas goes back up. Remember, oil is traded on a global basis, not just here in the US, but globally. And a lot of this has to do with news going here globally. And here's another set of news that could be driving oil prices even higher. As you see right here, European gas prices jump after Putin says that unfriendly countries must pay in rubles. So remember that the US is not buying Russian oil anymore. But remember, the price of oil, when we look at this, is traded globally. Okay? Price of oil, if Brent crude and WTI crude goes up, price of gas goes up, even in the US, regardless of whether we're buying Russian oil or not. Remember, Russian oil was only about 3 to 8% of our oil. But this oil, Brent crude and WTI crude, is what controls the price of gas and still does to this day for every country in the world. In fact, a lot of you guys were shocked when I showed you guys this, that it's not just the US. A lot of people say, "Oh, gas going up is Biden's fault or Trump's fault or the Democrats' fault or Republicans' fault," whoever you want to blame, right? Gas is high everywhere in the world, and a lot of countries are even higher. The United Kingdom, for example, if you equate their gallon of gas to US dollars, is $8.30 a gallon right now. $8.30 a gallon. This is actually as of March 21st, so a few days ago. $8.30 a gallon in the UK. You think gas is bad here in the United States? Everybody say you want to blame Biden, right? Well, Biden has nothing to do with the price of gas in the UK. $8.30 a gallon. Or the price of gas in Australia, $8 a gallon as well. Actually, that's Australian dollars. So in US dollars, that's about $6 a gallon. Still on the high side. That's about as high as it gets here in the US. That's about what it would be on the high side in California, or higher than any other state here in the United States. Remember, the average here is 425. So again, Australia still way higher than our average here. Average here in the US, 425. Price of gas in Hong Kong in US dollars, almost $11 a gallon converted to US dollars. $11 a gallon. Again, it has nothing to do with Biden or Trump or the Democrats. I know a lot of people want to blame the current president. But I mean, you can look at gas prices all around the world. Some countries are lower, some countries are higher, but inflation is everywhere. Gas prices going higher are everywhere. And this really just has to do with global oil. Global oil, the price of oil, it's higher everywhere. You go to buy oil, it's high everywhere. Oil's traded globally. Well, Putin just came out with this announcement here last night that European gas prices jumped. Remember that the price of oil jumped. We actually don't buy Russian oil anymore, but it raised the price of oil globally, because he says unfriendly countries must now pay for Russian oil in rubles. We don't buy Russian oil anymore, but they're still a major producer of the price or of oil, and it raised the price of oil almost instantly. After this announcement, some European countries such as the United Kingdom and Netherlands saw their wholesale gas prices go up 30%. 30%. The ruble also went up against the dollar, 97.7. This was actually a good thing for their dollar because it's forcing these countries to pay for their gas or pay for their oil in rubles, although it is still 22% below its value before the war. These actions occur after Putin announced gas needed to be paid in rubles in retaliation for the sanctions the West has put against Russia. Unfriendly countries include the US. We're not buying their oil, though. Members of the European Union, which is like the vast majority of countries in Europe, as well as Britain, Japan, Canada, Norway, Singapore, South Korea, Switzerland, and Ukraine. Putin said these countries have made illegitimate decisions on the so called freezing of Russian assets, and it made no sense to give goods and not receive payments in rubles. So these countries will now have to buy rubles and exchange for them to then be able to buy their Russian oil. Europe gets 40% of its natural gas from Russia, while the US has already announced it would not be buying any imports of Russian oil. And Europe has already announced that they want to significantly wean off of Russian oil and natural gas. But the problem here is that many, many countries depend on it. They're a major supplier of oil, especially for Europe, with countries right there around. So they can't exactly just flip off the light switch because countries like Germany have said that they would literally have rolling blackouts. So they're going to try. They're going to start building more nuclear power plants, solar plants, wind plants, and coal plants, and basically diversify and get oil from other places. But it's not just something they can just say, oh, like the US that only had 3 to 8% of our oil. But the US said no more Russian oil, which really didn't raise the price of our gas. The price of our gas had really already gone up. And again, if you've been listening and if you study economics and study the price of oil and gas, it's going up everywhere. It's not really, in fact, when the US made the announcement of we're not buying Russian oil, it really didn't go up after that. In fact, it actually started to come down. That's because the price of oil started to come down. It really didn't affect our price of gas here. Remember, the price of oil affects the price of gas, really. If the US started drilling more, that wouldn't necessarily affect the price of gas unless we got a lot more supply. And then the price of oil came down because there was a lot more supply on the market. Okay. It would have to bring the price of oil down to bring the price of gas down. Okay. I hope you kind of understand how that works, right? It doesn't necessarily mean if the US drills more, doesn't really bring our price of gas down. It has to bring the price of oil down globally, okay? Or they can bring the price of state taxes down or federal taxes down, which, if you've been watching my show, that is one thing that both the Democrats on the federal level, the national level, are considering doing, and multiple different states are doing and considering here as well. California Governor Gavin Newsom just announced last night the governor's two-part proposal represents the latest development in negotiations with the California legislature over how to offset soaring fuel costs, which would be potential $400 debit cards per person and $800 debit cards for married couples per family, and no tax hikes. Here are the details. So it could be $400 and $800. And this is just one state. We'll get to a couple more details here in a second. But California, this could go out to tens of millions of people. And remember that there are other states doing similar things like this with stimulus checks as well. Check out the details of this. California Governor Gavin Newsom wants to offer $400 debit cards that are tied to vehicle ownership, capped at 2 vehicles per household. This is actually similar to what Michigan did Michigan actually had a auto insurance refund that would provide a $400 refund, not really because of gas prices, but they're issuing $400 checks, refund checks, as well that are starting to go out now. So Michigan, there's no limit on the amount of cars that you can have. I think in this one, but Michigan is actually issuing $400 rebate checks here as well. So a little bit different on that, but kind of similar $400 checks here for the state of Michigan. A lot of different states are issuing money back to their residents in different forms to help out with kind of the pandemic and also high inflation right now. Governor Gavin Newsom wants to counter spiking gas prices by sending $400 per vehicle payments to drivers and freezing a gas tax increase tied to inflation. So $400 per vehicle payments to drivers and freeze the gas tax increase tied to inflation so there would not be an increase of gas tax this year. The governor's two-part proposal represents the latest development in negotiations with the legislature over how to offset soaring fuel costs. It differs markedly from the legislature's leading framework. Newsom wants to offer $400 debit cards that are tied to vehicle ownership, capped at 2 vehicles per household, for a total of $800 per household. So $400 debit cards, and if you have 2 vehicles in the household, you could get a total of $800 per household. So 2 debit cards of $400 each, or maybe they'll consolidate it and just make it one debit card for a total of $800. As of right now, there would be no income eligibility threshold. Um, we'll get to that here in a second. He is pressing ahead with a plan to halt a scheduled July 1st hike in the sales gas tax tied to inflation and stop that. The governor is also seeking $750 million to fund 3 months of free public transit for commuters as well, in addition. So that could potentially be free here as well. The debit cards would go to drivers regardless of whether they own a gas or electric powered vehicle, according to the governor's office, because really electricity has gone up as well. So this would help electric powered vehicles as owners help pay for electric, and they're doing their part as well, not pay for gas and help them pay for the electricity, and they're doing what's good for the environment as well, so it would help them pay for electricity. The total cost would be roughly $11 billion, a commitment made possible by a booming budget surplus. Remember that California currently has about $45 billion plus of a surplus, basically extra money over and above and beyond their budget. And remember that last year they sent out stimulus checks as well. And they still have a new surplus of $45 billion. So they sent out stimulus checks last year that were $600 and $600 plus $500 for people with children, to basically people who made under $75,000 in California, and you could have got $1,100 if you had a child there. Basically, $600 plus a $500 check for your child, and they sent those out to over 27 million people in California. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of people. And now they're going to be doing this here as well. So there is even a possibility that there could be a stimulus check coming after this as well, because the governor said that there probably could be a stimulus check coming this year because of how much money they had. So it's still left to be undetermined whether this is going to be in place of a stimulus check, or if this gas debit card, if this comes to fruition, or if there will be a stimulus check in addition to this gas debit card as well. From what it looks like, it's just going to be a debit card. It doesn't look like you have to spend it on gas. It looks like you can spend it on anything. We'll have to see more details on that. But the cool thing here is that we have as well proposals on the federal level as well. California is just one state, although the largest state in the nation by population. I mean, there's enough people in California to, put like 15, 20 states in there. Um, but Democrats, you could see the headline here, Democrats push for $300 per month stimulus checks to help Americans struggling to pay for sky high gas prices. So there's really a lot of different things that could be done here on the federal level here as well. $300 a month actually adds up to a lot. If you think about that, that's a potential $3,600 per year. And it depending on if that's a per person, that could be as high as $7,200 a year for two people. Think about that. That's a lot. $7,200 a year. That's more than all three stimulus checks combined. If we actually just figure this out here, the first stimulus check was 1,200. The second stimulus check was 600. That's 1,800, and the third stimulus check was 1,400. That's 3,200. So even at $300 a month, $300 a month for one person times 12 months would be $3,600. So even if it was for one person, $3,600 would be more money than all three stimulus checks combined from the Democrats and from, well, a bipartisan committee there. Stimulus check one and stimulus check two was underneath former President Donald Trump. It was a bipartisan. The Democrats controlled the House, the Republicans controlled the Senate and the presidency. But a lot of people don't realize $300 a month adds up quickly. And if you have two people, if it's per person, that really adds up quickly because that could be $7,200 for two people a year, depending on how long it goes for. So don't discount that. I know some people say $300, that's not really a lot. If it's monthly, it adds up a lot because trust me, $3,200 is what all three stimulus checks were combined. $300 a month, if it goes for 12 months, that's more than all three stimulus checks combined. So don't discount the power of monthly checks because when they're monthly, they are a lot because you get them every single month. So that would be like the holy grail of checks. And that's why those child tax credits are so important to the 60 some million children, 60 some million families that got those. And that's why they're trying to work on those right now. You think about Social Security benefits that come every month. Monthly checks are really where it's at. So um, let's keep our fingers crossed, as well as keep our fingers crossed for the child tax credits as well. I'm going to keep you up to date here on everything. We also could see some people getting more than one check here. There's a potential check on the federal level and on the state level because literally there's a lot of states here doing this as well. And if you've been watching my channel, I'll keep you up to date here on everything on the state level and the federal level. So make sure to click the subscribe button down below if you haven't yet. It's completely free to do so. Remember that new videos come out here every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can click here to watch my newest video next. And in fact, you can actually click here to see a new state that just announced $1,000 stimulus checks. I believe there's actually several states information in that video. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.